Hello and welcome to Mind Your Own Retirement, episode number 6. And it's great to have your company from YourLifeChoices.com.au, simplifying retirement. We have the publisher of said magazine, Kaye with me. And hello, Kaye.
Hello, Deeksie.
Well, it's great to have episode number 6 or number 6 coming up for our friends in New Zealand and other places for Mind Your Own Retirement. And we have a very, very important subject to talk about for our entire podcast this time.
So we've dumped the format because we think this topic is the single most important topic for older Australians.
And the topic is?
Sex.
Right, let's talk about it.
Sex. Episode 6.
Episode 6, talking about sex. So, how are we going to approach this? Because it's such a wide ranging subject, especially for older Australians. When we were kids, we don't like to think of our parents having sex.
No, we don't.
As we get older, we don't like to think of our grandparents having sex.
Or our grandkids.
Or our grandkids having sex. But
we don't like to think about
it's harder for the kids to think about us oldies actually having an intimate relationship.
Correct.
And there's just such a wide-ranging subject. I believe we have Janelle Ward, the digital newsroom editor from Your Life Choices, on the line now. Hello, Janelle.
Hello, Deeksie. Hello, Kaye.
Hello, Janelle. And here we are, episode 6. And
love that.
She keeps using that, honestly.
Well,
like,
it's
okay,
fortuitous,
we get it, Kaye.
I still find it funny, which is perhaps pointing to something childish in my head.
I love it.
Here's the thing, Janelle. You and I are both aware that about a week or so ago, a lady was forced to take the NDIS to the courts because she was older, she was disabled.
Just the NDIS is the?
The National Disability Insurance Scheme. So she was looking for money to support a sex therapist for her needs, as she should. Oh. She was knocked back, so she took the NDIS to the courts. And she had a win. And, of course, the language was, of course she should have access to a sex therapist. It is a basic human need at any age. And that was something that I think you absolutely had in mind when you came up with the sex poll.
Absolutely.
Can I just ask the question, what was the basis on the NDIS knocking back this? How old was she?
Oh, look, guessing she was late 60s.
So what was their rationale? Their
rationale, I believe, was they felt it was not necessary.
Oh,
yeah.
That is...
Yeah.
Red bull. Anyway, getting back to Janelle's sex poll.
So that gives us a news flash, doesn't it? That we don't, our sexual desires don't flag when we hit 50, 60, 70 or 80. I mean, they're still there.
And was that why you chose to run the poll? Because it's an interesting thing. This poll predates that court finding. What were you thinking, Janelle?
It's sort of like almost don't want to go there subject. Like, do old people really have sex? And I think we tend to perhaps look at our adult lives when we had older parents, and I've got older children, and they sort of say, keep it clean, mums, that sort of thing. So we just need to get it out there that by doing a poll, we can show very clearly what older people think about sex, what age people are actively engaging in sex, and that does not obviously just mean intercourse, but just get the facts and figures out there.
Intimacy versus intercourse. Now, what I loved, the hottest finding I saw, and then straight over to you for your favourites or what you think is most notable, but 7 in 10 of Your Life Choices members believe at their age, whatever it is, they're still hot.
That's exactly right. And isn't that marvellous?
Brilliant.
I think that is just a real glass half full attitude, and so should they? A body that is 70 or 80, why can't it still be hot? Why can't other people consider that person to be still a very attractive person?
How about Helen Mirren in a bikini?
Oh,
she's the hottest chick on the block,
yes.
Or Tina Turner's legs. I mean,
yes. Oh,
it's doable.
Brilliant.
What were some of the other results you found in your poll?
What do people find most attractive? Top of that was sense of humour. kindness, good talker and listener, and positive attitude. The unattractives were, conversely, negativity and some obvious things like personal odour, bad teeth, but bad attitude, just people who've given up on life, those glass half empty people that you just don't want to be around.
So there's hope for everybody. It's interesting, isn't it? And this is something I think younger people struggle with as well. You actually don't have to be the most technically beautiful person in the room to turn people on.
No.
And it's about, I feel so sorry for so many of the elderly who have lost partners and who are desperately missing the intimacy of a one-on-one relationship.
Yeah, and that came out in the poll too. I mean, that was one of the higher. If you're not having sex regularly, why not? And it's because they've lost their partner, and anecdotally they've also lost their confidence to go out and find a partner, and they don't want to use dating apps. We asked the question about dating apps, and they weren't keen to use dating apps. So it just. Yeah,
and also they say, well, that's my part of that part of my life is now gone. I will no longer visit it, so they don't even open with the opportunity to re-enter that world.
No. But we also asked them whether they masturbate, which is sometimes can be a confronting thing, and 56% said they did. They were very upfront about declaring that, so there was still enjoyment to be had.
How many people were surveyed?
We had 1,243 respondents, which is a really good gauge.
How did your poll with Your Life Choices mash with others that have been done?
I don't know that I've read too many others, no. And look, I really stand by ours because so many other surveys don't get the buy-in that ours do. We just get a really good number of respondents, so you can get a really good gauge.
And I think also, Janelle, we're really trying to dig deeper and deeper and deeper into people's experiences, but also to give older people a voice and to hark back to John's comment, to give them visibility. I mean, we really do care, and I think we are trying to say we care about how you feel. We won't write glib rubbish about what older people think. We will base our articles on what you tell us. And another interesting point perhaps is what are the biggest hindrances to having sex? So I note no partner, but there are a couple of other aspects there.
Apart from, the unattractive, the no partner, diminished libido was the top of one of the questions, the main problem that might prevent you having sex. So diminished libido was 21% and erectile dysfunction was 18%. So that is obviously an issue that Viagra hasn't yet totally resolved.
Janelle, what feedback have you had from the medical profession, if any? Obviously some medicos are going to be more sympathetic and others are going to take the ridiculous and archaic view of, look, at your age, really, it matters?
Well, I think that's part of our poll, to get that message out there to help educate the medicos. It can only help because they will only see people on a personal basis, but if they see a wave of opinion that I'm 80 and I still look forward to having sex, and that is repeated over and over again, then they have to sit up and take notice and not just wave people off.
And there's something else there too that we've seen research over the years that in terms of surgery, sometimes prostate surgery, people are a bit quick to leap in and make that conclusion, and that men suffer unnecessarily, not specifically from the surgery, but from the after effects, and it's killed their sex life. That's one piece, and that's sort of that's a big question, I think, for the medical community. But the other piece in here, and I believe we're talking to Leon shortly, is it's not just about intercourse.
No.
And And that's huge.
We did ask, does sex need to involve intercourse? 71% said no.
Wow.
There you
So
are.
that's fairly, it's overwhelming.
Where does an 80-year-old go, or a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old go to discuss these issues, Janelle?
Maybe they should go to the men's shed or the equivalent women's shed, because they'll probably get more reassurance and real views from talking to people in their own cohort than from talking to medical profession, I think, at this point in time.
I think that's fair, and I think another aspect here is as we get older, sometimes we've had conditions or have conditions, and one being cancer, and medications are needed. And sometimes the effective medications can be to suppress libido and body function, if we say, I mean, how moist a female is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of aspects in here which, in the comfort of your back room, having a wine with a friend, you can learn from other people what was their experience and what might you do, and is there a cure? I am a glass half full. I think there's always something some of us can do about something. So it's good. It's good to open up the conversation.
But you've got to want her.
You've got to want her.
You've got to want her.
And are women probably far more adept at doing that than men?
Oh, of course they are.
Do men, they wouldn't fess up to erectile dysfunction. They'd rather talk about the footy, wouldn't they? Am I being very sexist here?
Look, you're probably right. I mean, I'm a bad example because, as Kaye knows, I'm very shy and wouldn't come forward with
Talk about anything.
Talk about anything. But I think you're right. But if partners can have an open and honest discussion with themselves together about it, and if they do go to a medico to begin the discussion and they're not happy with the results or the discussion that's being had by the medico, they need to go to somebody else. Does YourLifeChoices.com.au offer any advice, practical advice, to people of a certain age who would like to continue to pursue a sexual or begin or reinvigorate their sexual life?
Well, I believe...
Which doesn't mean just intercourse.
I believe Leon is standing by with his 6 top tips.
And this week, not about travel.
No, our travel editor is off
Multi-skilled. He's multi-skilled. Welcome to you, sir.
And how are you, John?
I'm doing very well, thank you. And how's your sex life?
It's private.
Oh, fair enough. Well, thank you very much.
I can actually say I made a joke during the week that I slept with someone for the first time in 2 years the other day, and that's because I finally got my bed back from my 2-year-old daughter.
Now, there's a whole nother subject.
I know.
Talking about the problems. Oh, dearie me. Mate, thank you so much for joining us from Your Life Choices. And normally we would be talking to you about travel, but I believe you have some hot tips. Janelle, we've been speaking to about her sex poll. And what do you bring to the table?
Usually talk about travel, but this is a different kind of journey, I suppose. I've got a few sex tips, but they're more sex secrets for long-term couples, the things that keep sort of long-term couples in check and together and happy and satisfied, I suppose. Mm-hmm. I suppose the first one would be one that's quite obvious, but is also easily overlooked, and that's affection. I'm guilty of giving the odd bum pinch, but and it never sort of seems to be received very well. But any time I give a nice hug and just a gentle kiss and just a nice little, a hold, a squeeze, it always gets a fantastic response, and that's one that I think I would just share with everyone. Go for the affection.
Yes, and it comes in many forms.
It does,
and it is absolutely crucial.
The second one is, I suppose, if you don't ask, it won't happen. A lot of people sort of just suffer in silence and complain that they're not getting enough.
Don't instigate.
That's right. Just have a chat about it. Maybe talk about it and sort of say, hey, this is what I'd like and what would you like, and let's open the conversation. again, conversation can lead to, more fun down the track.
Yeah,
Leon, why do you think, for people who've been married 20 years, 30 years or more, why do you think they find it difficult to actually have that conversation? And, they've been in the same bed for decades. Why are we still embarrassed? What's going on?
We're embarrassed about talking about it. Do you know why I think?
Why?
Because we're not supposed to be together for 30 years.
Is that right?
I don't think that...
Is that a bad idea?
I think it's a great idea if it works for people, but I don't think necessarily that that human beings were meant to be together like magpies,
Right.
go pies, from birth to death. A whole nother discussion, open to
Whoa.
it. But you know what I'm saying?
We could do a debate where you could be on the be together for 10 minutes and I could be on the...
I mean, I'm not saying it's wrong at all. I think it's wonderful if it is. But
you're not saying
how do you get over the stale?
Sorry, I'm still sort of reeling over the fact that you somehow managed to sneak the word magpies into that conversation, John. You can't
It's
help
black
yourself.
and white in here, baby.
I see that. Look, I think potentially, years of repetition, lack of variety, it sort of, maybe it stifles the imagination a little bit. And
It's the same playlist.
Yeah, the same playlist. And
Not
so it
Dion
becomes
again.
routine and things are taken for granted. And then when you're in a new relationship, everything's new and everything's exciting and nothing really seems taboo. But over the years, there's I suppose there's a bit of the oh, don't do that. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, and it's like touching the snail on their little eyes, and gradually the little eye pulls back into the head, and probably after 30, 40 years, doesn't really feel confident in coming back out. Well, these tips should sort of hopefully encourage those little eyes to come back out.
So can we
get them back in the game?
Can we jump into variety being the spice of life? What's the tip there?
Well, I think, again, we're coming back to breaking that repetition and the lack of variety. You know what? Get your partner and go into an adult shop and go and have a look at all the sexy toys and the little bits and pieces. You might think that you'd be embarrassed by that, but you know what? These places have seen it all.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of fun. You go in there and you can go in and have a laugh. And having a laugh will open you up to maybe some different experiences. Maybe, you can both agree on, let's give that a go.
And if you go Saturday morning, they have a sausage sizzle. It's really good.
I don't know which sex shop you're going to.
Are the toys outside
Hang
or
on,
in?
is that Bunnings or is it... Oh, no. Go to the Makita area. There you go.
Is this
God,
rotary
power
led?
Different type of power tools, I think, John.
Yeah, because places like Sexyland, etc. I mean, they're huge. So apparently.
They're huge, and they're a lot of fun.
And
they are a lot of
mention
fun.
my name for a good time.
Don't worry about the senior discount. You'll get the Deeksie
The
discount.
Thank you.
Deeksie
This
discount.
yeah.
So, Leon, I think this is off-piste again, so I'm dragging it back like a schoolmother here. Okay, create the mood for love. So I'll throw out there that it is commonly understood by women that a woman's erogenous zone is her brain, is her mind. So you're saying create a mood for love. I've set up the challenge. What's the mood?
Certainly not going straight in for the butt squeeze. I think the mood, starts with conversation. Should always start with conversation. And again...
About the butt squeeze?
Well, it could be. I mean, I think the creating the mood is, setting the ambience. Let's not start the sex conversation in a busy airport lounge, travel gag. But, if you're into that sort of thing, that might come back into changing things up with the
Depends where you're going, pal.
The variety side of things, yeah.
Depends which class, I think.
Yeah. You know what? Women, according to multiple internet studies, women love a man who's generous, a good kisser, got a good sense of humour. Chivalry's not dead, hopefully. They love someone who's chivalrous and polite and has good grooming and fashion sense. So I think that's where you start. You create the mood by sort of making yourself as appealing as possible.
Can I share a David Fallick sexy tip? It's a winner.
I'm looking forward to hearing this too, yeah.
Friday night, long week at work, David Fallick turns to me and says, "Darling, you shouldn't cook. Let's get takeaway."
Why not?
My heart.
And
skips a beat.
does that include drive-through? Does he upsize to a family?
That's the end.
I don't
That's the
think
end
the
of the
Macca's
story.
Happy Meal's getting you the happy ending, Dee.
No, it's being generous and it's being thoughtful. Wine, flowers. Nobody said flowers.
Absolutely.
Candlelight is not a maybe. Candlelight is a necessary. The whole lot.
Take your time.
You should know after a long time the little things that your partner likes, be it chocolates, be it their favourite album, their favourite sort of music. And, these are just all little ways that you can, crack through the armour and
it's an investment, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. Just take notice. And if you've forgotten, try and remember. I think, too, going back to what Kaye said before with takeaway, you can theme a night. Let's go to Greece. Get takeaway food. Put on some Greek music.
Yeah.
Maybe unbutton your shirt. Four
smash
buttons.
plates.
You're listening to that, David, instead of...
Shirley Valentine.
Instead of...
Go Greek.
Instead of Mrs. F throwing the plates at you, you could smash a few plates. Mate, thank you so much indeed for giving up your time today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
Folks, I'd like to talk to you about Your Life Choices Pension Checker. Now, this is an easy-to-use financial tool that allows you to calculate exactly how much you should be receiving in fortnightly pension payments and supplements. It's very well priced at just $29.95 per year. Visit pensionchecker.com.au and make today the day you take control of your income with Your Life Choices Pension Checker.
Now we have Susan on the line, and because John doesn't know Susan, here's a short intro. She's a very valued Your Life Choices member. We call her Cha-Cha in the office. That's her nickname for us, or our nickname for her, rather. And Susan did something pretty special. She wrote this amazing short story about... Susan, I'm going to describe it, but I think we're inviting you to put us on track and tell us what it really was about. I'm saying it was an unexpected sexual encounter.
Yes, it was.
And what made you write this story? And can you just briefly tell us what happens in the story?
Well, I describe my experience, which happened over the course of a year, and I was completely out of my comfort zone because I hadn't had a partner for a very long time, and I just closed up. And this person that I'd known for perhaps 6 years, just chatted with and always laughed with. We always laughed. It was just part of our communication. And one day he leaned over and kissed me on the mouth. Well, it totally threw me, and I felt here I am at 73. I can't even cope with a kiss. So that's what started my story.
I mean, I just find that beautiful. And John's just gone into dreamland now. But when you said you couldn't cope, I'm kind of feeling like my teenage self because the excitement.
It was exciting. It was around about the time of Harvey. What's his name?
Oh, Weinstein. Oh, wow.
Part of me is thinking, this man's out of touch.
Right.
And the other part was thinking, oh, my God, that was very nice.
Yeah, but he wasn't exactly a guy on the bus. I take it, you'd been pals for a long time.
On the bus either. No, that's true. I did know something about him.
So did you return the kiss?
I think I was neutral.
So
but
he
I didn't,
came
I
back
didn't
for
slap
more?
his face, so he came back for another one some weeks later.
Some weeks later? Time waits for no man.
But John, it gets better. Right.
Well, sorry, continue with your story, Cha-Cha.
Susan, tell us just a little more, because John's not...
I'm blushing on the phone.
Oh, no. It's a beautiful story. Do you want me to help, or...?
No, I want to hear it from her.
I think you'd better give him a copy of the story.
Oh, don't you worry about that.
And he went away for a while, and I hadn't seen him for a couple of months, and when he came back, he ran into me in the hallway and said... I want you, don't you?
Oh, I love that.
And I thought, I went weak in the knees. And so I offered him a cup of coffee, and it became more. And it was one of the funniest experiences I've ever had. I had to write about it because I was brought up a nice girl. You don't do those sort of things. And I'd been in a very difficult marriage, and I didn't want to repeat anything casual or permanent or any relationship, really, that would have those overtones. But it didn't. We've become good friends. Not a relationship, but really good friends. And that's not something I would have done 20 years ago.
Why now?
I can't tell you now, except I had to write about it to find out how I felt. And I found that the old mores that I had been brought up with, I was brought up in a sect, and, sex was a sin. And my mother said anyone who did it over 50 was disgusting.
Oh, dear.
All those sorts of things. And I just don't feel like that. And he was so sweet and made me laugh so much that I just thought there can't be all this tension that there's been around sex, especially with old people. We can still do it. It may not be quite the same as we would have had we been younger. But, people find ways of managing. And, he's got dicky knees, I've got a dicky back, so, you take care of these things.
Dickies everywhere.
So
you don't swing from the chandeliers. Metaphorically speaking, you can.
You can. The interesting thing I think you're alluding to here is the damage that can be done to all of us by upbringing, by parental misunderstanding. Institutions.
And I think it has done a lot of damage, and they squeezed all the joy and the fun from it.
Yeah.
And
But your story is showing the damage can be undone.
Yes.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Come out here. And
it can, and I think if you are careful, and as John said, don't pick up somebody on the bus.
Oh. He's such a killjoy, honestly, Susan. Really, he needs re-educating.
No imagination.
And you're just the woman to do it. So, are you still in a relationship with this man, or?
Yes, in a sort of an informal sense. Honesty is best policy, we think.
Are you saying he's a friend with benefits, you modern child, you?
Yes,
Goodness gracious me.
Actually.
There you are, friend with benefits. That's what the young ones say.
That's a cool phrase.
Yeah.
I like that. Yeah.
It is a cool phrase, and it works quite well.
Good. How have you felt about your life, your world? Does the sun shine brighter? Do the birds sing louder? Do the flowers smell better?
Do you know that afterwards I felt lighter, and I found people in shops smiled at me. People in the street smiled at me. I wasn't smiling, but they were picking up some sort of vibe from me because I was feeling so good.
I reckon you were grinning, and they were grinning back.
And it just shows you how incredibly important that aspect in life is. And obviously it's easy for us to say if we're in relationships, and those who aren't because of whatever reason, we sort of feel for those, or I don't feel for those. What are the words I'm looking for? But
well, you empathise, and you think to yourself, "Oh gosh, that must be tough." But what I'm really interested in is the fact that for the over 60 age group, 25% of people are living in single households.
That's right, exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Loneliness is a big thing. But I'll tell you something I discovered with all this. Because I thought, when I took the plunge, I thought, I have a strong feeling I want to learn something. Not just, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. But I learned that I am a passionate person, and it's okay. But I wish that there was some way of getting men, particularly that generation, to stop their chest beating and drop their pride, teach their sons how to treat their women well. Now, I read an article by a Dr. Helen O'Connell, and it's called something about being cliterate. And she has done a huge amount of research on this area. And if men knew more about that, I think there would be so much less trouble. And when I gave it to my friend, I could see him spooling back over the years thinking, oh, my God, I had no idea. And I think that a whole lot of men would find that too.
Your story is in YourLifeChoices.com.au, correct, Kaye?
It is. So if people come in through the podcast page, we will be putting Susan's story back up.
Oh, great.
Because it's beautifully written, and it's a really feel-good story, I think.
More power to you, Susan.
Thank you very much, John.
Take care. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. Love the podcast.
How wonderful, the strength of her to be able to come forward and to be able to tell the story.
Yeah. She came in, she offered it to our editor who shared it with me and said, can we publish it? And I said, why wouldn't we?
Exactly.
And, that was a conversation we often have, but it wasn't necessary. It's a beautiful story. It's been exceptionally well received. I love the fact Susan's prepared to talk about this in the detail we all need to better understand.
Go to YourLifeChoices.com.au to read that story and find out so much more. Now you have a nugget to leave us with.
I do, John. The question is, what is the most popular Aussie sex toy? There is a hint. This was reported in May, which is apparently Masturbation Month. Mm-hmm. And it was reported by Women's Health. Please guess very quickly, what is the popular one?
And what's up, Doc?
It is. It's the rabbit, which is a vibrator, and
it's more than a vibrator,
apparently, because it's got lots of things happening and levers and so on.
Oh, it has got levers.
Oh, mate, it has.
Hey, look at that. It's here in your handbag. It hasn't got levers.
It's pink and it's there. So if you're wanting to spice up your sex life, go find a rabbit.
Yes, not a rabbit, but find go to your local sex shop and
have a look at the rabbit.
Have a look at the rabbit. Thank you so much, Kaye. We'll join you for episode 7.
We will.
Coming up very soon. Mind Your Own Retirement is what you've been listening to from YourLifeChoices.com.au. Kaye Fallick, the publisher. Me, John Deeks. Back with more next time. See you then.